Hey YouTubers, okay, here we go. This is a video, probably should have done when this was happening, but you know what, it was February, it was very cold, there's a lot of snow, and I just wanted to get the job done. And that is changing the starter on a Chevy Silverado, which I will tell you is a pretty nasty little job. So I'm just going to go over what I did here, and hopefully it'll help you out with it. Now this is a 99 Silverado, and this is the first year that the Silverado became its own vehicle. Previously it was a trim line, and 99 and after, it's its own. So it had three engine options: the 4.3 liter 6-cylinder, 4.8 liter 8-cylinder, and then I think it was like a 5.6 liter 8-cylinder. I don't remember exactly. This is the 4.8 liter 8-cylinder, and I think this problem is mostly with the 8-cylinder engines, but the starter is a real pain in the rear to replace on this truck. It took me 2 or 3 days to do this job, to be honest. Now it was winter and it was nasty out. But I'm just going to go over what I did, and hopefully it'll be easier for you, give you some of my tricks. First thing is disconnect both poles of the battery. I do that just in safety reasons because this is the starter and it's a direct connect to the battery. So both of those. Now we come over here and I'm going to show you the first trick. One of the main problems is this tube for the engine oil dipstick. It goes down and around and like that far from the starter. You can't see it from here where it goes down, but that is a lot of the problem. There's a bracket right down in here that attaches the tube to the engine block. Take that screw out and use a bit of string and pull this dipstick tube as far away from the engine as you can. It won't be very far because there's some stuff in the way, but believe me, every 1/8 of an inch counts in this job. So that's the first trick. This is most of the problem in getting the starter out. Theoretically, you can remove the dipstick tube, but I don't recommend it. It's supposed to just pull out of the engine. Most of them rust to the engine. If you try to pull them out, they'll just break. And then you got to drop the oil pan and drill it out, and it's just nasty, nasty. So if you pull it away, remove that bracket bolt and pull it away, that should do it. Okay, next we're going to get down here underneath the vehicle. Okay. Well, there is the starter. Right here. Wow, it's already rusting. Amazing. God, this car is just a rust mobile. Anyway, this is the transmission bell housing, and here's the starter, and well, there's the front of the vehicle. This is on the passenger side. You have to do two things. Number one is you need to remove the plug right here. This is the oil level sensor. This is the sump for the oil, obviously the drain. And you need to remove this guy, just the plug, not the whole sensor. And it comes out, there's this black tab that's kind of underneath in this slot. Don't try to pull the blue housing out of the black housing. That won't work. You get in there with a little screwdriver and pry this tab up, and then this will pull out. Actually, I'll show you how to do that. Okay, we're back. So here's the tab. You get your screwdriver in and just ply that tab up, and then you can push and pull the whole connector out like that. Just a 2-pin connector. Hopefully this tab faces you, and that should be enough. There is one more thing, and man, this is one of the problems. You see, they did this wiring loom and they went right around the starter. Why they did this, I don't know. The engineer who did this should seriously be punished. But there it is. There are some wires from the top of the starter that go forward on the frame. I can't really show you this because I can't even see it. But it's way up here under the frame, and there's a clamp up there on those wires, and they're the wires from the starter. Sorry, I'm moving this around so much, but it's the wires from the starter here going forward, and you need to get that clamp undone. And all I did was just reach up on top of the frame and feel around for it and kind of stab at it with a screwdriver until it came undone. And fortunately that worked. Okay, so once you've got those three things, the clamp and the wiring, this sensor wire, and the tube pulled out, the dipstick tube pulled out, you're kind of ready to go. Let's see, I'm going to turn around this way. And okay, so now you're ready to go. What do? Here's the first thing to know. There's two kinds of starters for this truck, two long and a long short. And what they're talking about are these mounting bolts. There's one here, and there's one way up in there, right on the other side of this one. This is a long short, and you know it's short because it's buried way up in there next to the engine. Long longs are the same length, and you'll see the head right away. They are otherwise mechanically, electrically interchangeable. The only difference is that one mounting bolt. Mounting bolts do not come with the starter when you buy a starter. So keep these, and if you need to use the other one, all you have to do is buy the other kind of mounting bolt for this. So anyway, take these two mounting bolts off. They're really long. It'll take you a while. And then you take this screw out for this plastic cover. And at that point you can move the starter back or towards the front of the truck, and then you kind of get this plastic cover out of there, and you may have to sort of bend it. It actually goes all the way around the starter. You may have to bend it carefully to get it out so you don't break it. You don't want to break this cover. And okay, so once you get that out, you go up to the top, and on the top of the starter solenoid there's a sheet metal heat cover, and it protects it against heat from the exhaust manifold, and you'll need to pry that off. It's usually rusted on pretty good, but you just get a screwdriver in there and pry it. There's no screws or anything holding it. Save that, because that also does not come with the new starter, and you do need it there. Then you go up on top and disconnect two of the three wires. There'll be one small wire and two big wires attached, and you want to take out the ones that are going elsewhere. There's one wire between the starter solenoid and the starter motor down here. And at that point, you try to get this starter out. Okay, this is the really not fun part. All I can tell you to do is take this thing, twist it, wiggle it, turn at different angles, and eventually it does come out of there. And I can't even tell you how I did it. It took me like an hour of jiggling out here in the snow. I had a torpedo heater, and it was a mess. Once you get that out, okay, now you do the whole thing in reverse. You take your new starter, and again, twist it, jiggle it, whatever you got to do to get it back up in there. And then, yeah, and you got these lines and everything in the way. Everything's just in the way of getting the starter out. It's frustratingly maddening. But once you get it in there, pull the sheet metal heat shield on the solenoid. You might want to practice that with the starter off the truck. so you know what you're doing. It's hard to do when you can't see what you're doing. But pull that on, attach the wires. You want to, again, with the starter off the truck, use a metal brush on the connection. The wires out there, they're probably a little rusted. Put that on. I suggest dielectric fluid or some other protectant against rust for those connectors. And then once you got that on, you get this plastic shield back in. Just bend it carefully around the starter. Move the starter forward as far as possible and get that in. Put the screw in loosely. Get the starter in. Put the 2 mounting bolts in there. Tighten those guys up. Then make sure the shield is in the right place and tighten that screw up. I already did it, but put your oil sensor back in. Put the bolt back for the dipstick rod, reconnect the battery, and you ought to be done. Hopefully you have a lot less trouble with this thing than I do. Good luck and adios.